And welcome back to Comic Frontline, everybody. I am Brant Fowler, aka the Gonzogoose, back with you for another review. We're talking Deathstroke, issue number 19, the Lazarus Contract, part 3. Now, I've reviewed the previous two parts. You can go back and watch them. They'll be linked in the description below and on the end card at the end of this video. Sorry about that. And this particular issue, the story, of course, is by Priest, Benjamin Percy, and Dan Abnett, because they're the writers of the 3 books. The script for Deathstroke is by Priest, and the breakdowns by Larry Hama, one of my favorites. I'll get into that later. The finishes on the pencils, Carlo Pagulayan, so I apologize if I butchered that name, Roberto J. Villacava, and then inks, Jason Paz with Sean Parsons, colors, Jeremy Cox, and letters, Willie Schubert. Alright, so this, before I even get started, and I apologize, but this so far is the weakest issue in this crossover. And there's a reason that I stopped reading Deathstroke, and I'll get into why during this issue. But first, I want to talk about the positives. The art in this book is absolutely freaking gorgeous. Seriously. Now, I'm a big fan of Larry Hama because of his writing over on G.I. Joe, you know, through the Marvel years, and he's doing A Real American Hero at IDW. And he's, you know, an established artist. He used to draw Wolverine and different things. And so his breakdowns, I'm sure, just the layouts throughout this issue are gorgeous. And even the finished pencils, I mean, that you open up, you know, on the credits page, there's this beautiful splash page of Wally and Deathstroke running through the Speed Force, and the colors and the inks and everything comes together in this beautiful tapestry of just magnificent art. And it continues all throughout the page. I think some of the flashback scenes were a little bit weak, and the facial features of Robin especially, and some of the flashbacks were a little weak. But other than that, I thought the art throughout this entire issue was absolutely phenomenal. So I have no complaints really with the art, except for, you know, the facial thing that I mentioned. I mean, the speed lines and everything throughout this. There's this scene where they're running through water, and it's just gorgeous. And even the quieter moments, there's like little, you know, details where, you know, they're standing in different ways. Their poses, you know, kind of go with their personalities. It's very cleverly illustrated. The writing in this issue, though, I felt was just not nearly as strong as it was in the previous 2 parts. And I honestly, it's one of the reasons I didn't care for the Deathstroke series to begin with, is because for one, it doesn't feel like Deathstroke. He's doing inner monologue, but he's voicing it. It's like, if I do this with my suit, it will do this, you know. And I don't remember the vernacular. He was talking about the icon suit and who named it that and why it's called that and what abilities it has, and he's talking to nobody. Nobody's around. He's just talking to himself out loud. It was kind of silly. It was like, you know, your old school dumbed down comics, and it didn't feel right. I just didn't like that, and it felt like that throughout the whole thing. Even when he was conversing with other characters, it felt like they really dumbed it down, made it really unintelligent for you. And it was jumping back and forth in time, and there was these big black bars with, you know, these little subtitles throughout it, and that plays to the lettering. And I apologize, I'm a letterer, so it's kind of hard. I get a lot of flack when I talk about lettering, just because I am a letterer. But the lettering in this was it was very, I don't want to say it was amateur, but it was very basic. It was very basic. It was not bad lettering by any stretch. I mean, it was decent, except the tails. The tails on the balloons were just like these straight, pointy tails, and whatever. It's just not my preferred style. There were tangents and stuff like that. So, I mean, overall, I mean, the writing and the lettering coming together just kind of took me out of it a little bit, and it just was not quite as solid as the previous 2 parts, and it was a little bit disappointing. He lost some of his motivation here. I did appreciate the parts with Jericho, you know, but I don't know. It seemed to fall apart here. It's like all the Titans are just kind of sitting around, chilling, don't know what to do. Wally's running away from a fight. The other Wally is like, my speed gun, and falls into the water, and it was corny. So I was really disappointed by this, because I was really looking forward to this issue, because I've really enjoyed this crossover so far. But this was definitely a low point in the crossover for me. So I have to give it a low score for that. I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5. I really didn't enjoy it, and I know that the Titans annual is going to be much better, much stronger. So I'm looking forward to that. So this just isn't my kind of book, and that's all there is to it. It's no offense to Priest in his writing style. It's just not my preferred writing style, and I'm just not interested in this book. So I like the character, and I like some of the things that happen, but again, that whole story was put together by all 3 writers, and you know, it just falls apart in this issue for me. So 3 out of 5 for Deathstroke number 19, part 3 of the Lazarus Contract. Please check out the other parts, as I mentioned earlier in the review, and check out all the other content here on Comic Frontline. And as always, thanks for watching. Please give it a thumbs up if you like the review, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. You can find me on lastnumberpress.com, zone4podcast.com, right here on Comic Frontline, of course, What the Card on YouTube, and my channel, Brant Fowler. And you can also follow me on Twitter and Facebook at Brant Fowler. So until next time, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.